You know, one of the narratives that came up last season was that Tom Brady didn't have any weapons to throw to. And while there definitely were times when that was absolutely the case, especially early on in the year, there's one guy that he had for most games last year that was definitely a guy to throw to, and that was Julian Edelman. I mean, he might not be Julio Jones, but I'm not exactly sure how many more guys I'd rather have in a Patriots offense than Julian Edelman. I mean, he's definitely fits that offense absolutely perfectly. You know, he's just amazing at running those, quick short routes, a lot of slant routes, a lot of quick routes that he can sort of just get open quickly, and he's also very effective with play action. He's basically the perfect Patriots wide receiver, which is why he's been so successful for them for so many years. And of course, he would be successful under any offense, really, but I think that his talents are magnified when he plays for that New England offense. Really, probably the biggest way and probably the most notable way you'll see him be effective would be a play like this. It's going to be a cover 3 zone, and so they're going to fake a handoff to the top half of the screen, and then Edelman is going to basically run right there, try to get past the linebackers but before the safeties. We've seen this play a million times. Basically, the linebackers move in to potentially stop the run, and then Edelman can get open behind them. We've always seen this plenty of times before. The Chiefs are actually going to play this one relatively well. I mean, that one Chief right there realizes what's going on and is going to actually cut in, and he isn't able to quite keep up with Julian Edelman, but he's able to at least shorten that throw a little bit. Not to mention the linebackers didn't move too far back. However, that's okay because there still is going to be a gap right there. The window is going to be a lot smaller, of course, because the Chiefs played this one well, but look at Edelman on this one. The window is a little bit smaller, but Brady's going to hit it through, and Edelman did a good enough job of creating enough separation that he was still able to make this catch. Not only that, but notice how Edelman kind of slows down a little bit once he realized that he is in that gap and that Brady is going to try to make a throw through that gap. I mean, he definitely knows what he's supposed to do on that route. Route running really is everything. I mean, I don't care how fast you are, I don't care how good of catching you are, you have to be able to run routes more than anything. Edelman might not be as tall as Julio Jones, and he might not be as fast as some of these fast guys out there, but that doesn't mean that he can't run routes very well. This guy is a tremendous route runner. Like, this play will be another example of that. It's going to be a cover 1 hole, and those are going to be the routes that the Patriots receivers on the bottom half of the screen will be running, and the one route in particular you're going to take a look at, of course, is Julian Edelman's route right over there. I believe I've actually broken down this play before. I believe I did that in my preview of the AFC Championship game. However, this time I'm taking it from Julian Edelman's perspective, so of course it definitely has a different impact than when I was talking about the whole play as a whole in that video. But anyways, one thing you want to take a look at is look at how good of a job Julian Edelman does of basically he can run in any direction here. That's something that's really important in route running, is basically looking like you could run in any direction. It's called the stem of the route because, a route tree means you can run any direction, but you always start at the stem. This is the stem portion of that route. At a certain point, he is going to commit to running a certain route, but he wants to wait as long as possible before making it obvious which way he's committing. As of right now, he's given up essentially nothing. He could be cutting in any direction here. So when he finally does cut through the top half of the screen to finish his route, he's able to easily get open, and that's just an easy throw for Brady to make. That might be my favorite thing about Edelman. When I was breaking down these plays, one of the things I really noticed is his ability to run that stem portion of the route. He doesn't allow those defensive backs to basically get any idea of where he's going because he's able to run up in a way where he doesn't give up where he's going. Like right here, that's the sign man, and he's going to be running just quick over the middle of the screen, which should be an easy way to pick up some yards. I mean, he has a little bit of space, and since it's cutting right over the middle, this will be an easy angle for Brady to hit him, and this is going to be guaranteed to pick up a few yards no matter what. But what's really notable here is take a look at how he's going to go about doing this. A lot of guys would just cut right off the bat, however, that's not what he's going to do at all. He runs basically straight up, and again, as of right now, he could easily be cutting in any direction. I mean, you can totally see him just cutting to the bottom half of the screen to continue running forward. He can really do anything at this point. So when he does cut to the top half of the screen, this allows him to gain a ton of separation. It takes a little bit longer for the play to develop, but once he finally does have that separation, Brady's able to hit him and they're able to pick up way more yards than they would have had he just simply cut right off the bat. It's the attention to detail and paying attention to do the little things. Sometimes you might say, I don't need to fake like I'm going forward and then run the route. I'll just run my route and I'm fast enough, I'll be able to pick up some yards. And that would be true. I mean, if Edelman just ran the route straight up and didn't really focus too much on the stem, he definitely would have still picked up some yards on that play. But it was because he really paid attention to literally every step of that route that's how he was able to maximize that play and get as many yards as possible. Everyone thinks about when a receiver gets the most yards possible, they don't think about yards after the catch, but sometimes yards before the catch are ways that you can pick up more yards. Just running a good route helps you pick up more yards because it helps you in terms of separation. Having good separation, of course, not just makes it for an easier throw, but also means that the defensive back is farther away from you and you can potentially pick up more yards that way. I also think it probably should be mentioned that while I am really impressed with his beginning of a lot of these routes, sometimes you don't necessarily have to sell as though you could be going in any direction. And what I mean by that is something like this, where again it's going to be play action, and once again he's going to be cutting over the middle of the screen. So, very similar to that first play I showed you. But what's unique about this one is look at the Buffalo Bill who's in charge of covering him. He's right over there. He's playing very close to the line. He's also playing a little bit to the bottom half of the screen. So this now means that Edelman, when running his route, should probably just try to run there very quickly. Because the more he tries to basically fool that defensive back and think that he could be going in any direction, the more that defensive back has time to realize, oh, he probably is running over here since this play action, and Patriots love to have crossing routes on a play action. So as you see right off the bat, Edelman just runs a couple steps up and tries to run basically right to his route instantly. There's no need to fool him here, just run your route on this one. Edelman could just simply keep running forward, and now at this point, I mean, what can you do if you're the Buffalo Bills player? All Edelman has to do is just cut inside, he's able to get wide open, and able to pick up a ton of yards. Brady wasn't able to hit Edelman in stride, largely because the Buffalo Bills linebackers did a good job of not getting fooled too badly on the play action. But even despite that, Edelman was so open that he was still able to make the catch and pick up a decent amount of yards. One thing I like about him too is when he has to make these double moves, how well he is at selling that first move. Like on this one, it's going to be a cover 4 zone, and that's his route basically. So he's going to try to fake as though he's going to the bottom half of the screen, but then run up to the top half of the screen, and basically right there is when he'll get open. That fake is important. A lot of guys will just kind of go through the motions on these fakes and just try to get to the end of their route, but Edelman makes sure that he doesn't do that at all. Like as you see, once this play starts and once he sort of fakes as though he's going to the bottom of the screen, I mean, look at that still image. It looks like he's going to the bottom of the screen. I mean, you completely would think that he is not going to be cutting up to the top half of the screen if you just paused it right here and I didn't tell you he's going up to the top half of the screen beforehand. Because of that, when he does cut up to the top half of the screen, he's able to easily get by that one bill, and granted, this is zone coverage, not man coverage, so it's a little bit different. Because of course that first bill isn't going to necessarily follow Edelman up to the top half of the screen, because then he would be abandoning his assignment. However, the real bill you want to take a look at would be that one right there. He's in charge of covering that middle of the zone, and honestly, Edelman is in the zone that Buffalo Bill is in charge of covering. But because he did such a good job of selling as though he was going to be going to the bottom half of the screen, this means that when he was able to cut up and get past that Buffalo Bill in that zone, then that player is still sort of focusing on the receiver who's beneath him, and that means that Edelman is able to get past him and get wide open for an easy catch. It should be mentioned that it was a good call by Josh McDaniels. I mean, he makes a lot of good calls, but let's be honest, I mean, anyone can come up with a good play call, but your players have to be able to execute it, and Edelman does a great job of executing pretty much any route. No matter what you need him to do, he can do just about anything, especially those quick cuts like that. He's kind of one of those guys that whatever route you draw up on a chalkboard, he'll run exactly that route and do exactly what you wanted him to do. And that's not just reserved for maybe more creative play calls, that can be very simple ones as well. Like on this one, it's a cover 2 zone, and Edelman's running an out route trying to get underneath the safety and past the linebackers. I mean, very simple idea. But really what I want you to see here is look at how well Edelman does at not giving anything away. I mean, really at this point, if you're a Buffalo Bills safety, you have no idea of guessing where he's going to go. And of course, the number one thing you have to do is just make sure that he doesn't beat you deep, so you have to make sure that you're staying past him, and he easily could be running a go route right here. But he's able to cut exactly when he wants to, seemingly without notice, and there's just so much room for Brady to make that throw. Edelman's kind of a quarterback stream in that sense, and obviously, you know, Tom Brady is a wide receiver stream, but my point is that this guy is just such a polished route runner, and sometimes I talk about these things that you can't teach. Well, this is something that you can teach, actually. It's probably the biggest thing that guys in the league will actually struggle at, is their ability to, you know, fake these routes and pretend like they're going one way and going the other. There are definitely a lot of guys who just dominate so much in high school and college that they kind of are just used to being able to dominate and not having to worry about the little things. But in the NFL, when there's so much talent, these little things really matter, and Julian Edelman does all of the little things perfectly. There's also this play, where that's where he is on the screen, but they're actually going to send him in motion a little bit to the top half of the screen. They're not going to send him a ton in motion, but just a little bit, just to get him sort of closer to the middle of the screen. So doing that does a couple of things. First off, it's going to let Tom Brady know, okay, this is man coverage, and the reason why that's important is because of actually Julian Edelman's route. Oftentimes, you'll just give yourself a man in motion basically just to give you a tell as though it's going to be man or zone coverage. That's kind of the only reason you do it oftentimes. For one thing, look at the corner who's assigned to cover Julian Edelman in relation to Julian Edelman. He's a little bit farther down to the bottom half of the screen than Julian Edelman is. And this is important because that's going to be number 11's route in this one. He's just running straight up to the top half of the screen. And when you throw on to the fact that Brady knows that it's going to be man coverage, now this is just too easy for the Patriots. Edelman accelerates quick enough that he's going to pick up some space, and then Brady basically just waits until he's going to be open, and then hits him, and Edelman's able to pick up a ton of yards in this one. In fairness, that play doesn't always go for that many yards, but because the corner did try to knock the ball away, that kind of took himself out of the play and allowed Edelman to pick up some more yards, but also that's kind of the benefit of that play in a sense. Essentially, your opposing corners are going to get beat, so you basically just have to say, okay, either I'm going to get beat and give up 5 yards, or try to knock the ball away, but if I miss it, then I can give up 20 yards. It's a lose-lose for defensive players, which obviously makes it a win-win for offensive players, unless, you know, Brady made a bad throw or Edelman wasn't able to create separation, but those two things don't happen very often. That's another thing that he can be effective at too, is yards after the catch. This guy can pick up some more yards after making the catch. We all know him as a possession receiver because that's what he is. But one of the things that makes a possession receiver so valuable is if they can pick up more yards after making the catch. And obviously this guy knows how to move. I mean, he did return punts for so long. Like on this play, it's actually going to be a cover 2 zone, but with an extra man dropping back into coverage, so it's just a 3-man rush here. And this is important because those are 2 routes that the Patriots on the top half of the screen will be running, and really Edelman's route, which is the one, he's the number 2 receiver right now, so he's the one cutting in. Edelman is the number 2 receiver, so he's going to be cutting on this route, and this is actually notable because there is an extra man in coverage for New York, meaning that all the gaps in coverage are going to be a little bit smaller. However, because they have a man running a go route, this now means that the Jet in charge of covering that go route on the top half of the screen has to make sure that he's going to be, covering the go route. But again, what I like about this play is look at how Edelman doesn't give anything away right off the bat. Once again, he could be doing anything. If Edelman cuts up to the top half of the screen to make sure that he's covering that flat so quickly, this would now allow a Jet to realize, make sure we don't allow Edelman to completely get open underneath. But because you don't really know what's going on right now, basically you kind of just have to expect it could be anything, so you can't really make sure that you cover Edelman because for all you know, Edelman's going to be running to the top half of the screen or to the bottom half, anywhere. You can't really go all out to stop number 11 here because you don't know what he's doing in this situation. So when he does cut, he gets wide open, and then also look at how he's able to pick up enough yards after the catch. He takes a perfect angle and, lowers the shoulder and is able to run over a guy and get into the end zone. And that's not just any guy either. I mean, that's Jamal Adams. We all know how good of a player he is, but Edelman won that matchup. Another great route by Julian Edelman was this one. Once again, it's going to be play action, and that's going to be Julian Edelman's route, which again is notable because what do they usually do in play action? They run a crossing route. So since his route is going to start off to the inside, as you see right now as the play develops, it's looking like he's going to the inside, this is going to now make Miami think that, okay, it's going to be a crossing route. Of course, that's what they do all the time, and Edelman is once again doing a tremendous job of selling that it's going to be a crossing route. So then when he cuts back up to the top half of the screen, look at how open he's able to get instantly. I mean, this is just after 2 steps, he goes from being covered completely to wide open. And of course, because of his speed, he's able to get even more open after that situation. Brady hits him, and he's able to pick up a decent gain. That's just too easy almost, and part of what makes it work is his history. It's the fact that he has a history of running a lot of crossing routes, and so when he changes things up, it can really fool opposing defenses. And it also helps that he's just one of the best route runners, so that's also what gives him some benefits. Okay, so last play here, and I think one thing should be mentioned about this play, the reason why I'm bringing it up, is because what's one of the things that Patriots fans have been worried about after they lost Rob Gronkowski? It's those red zone situations of Gronkowski has been so effective over the years of, running the fade route and Brady hitting him consistently. So now that he's gone, well, who's going to pick up the slack? Well, one guy I actually think has been effective in these kind of situations is Julian Edelman. He's often not the guy they turn to, and the reason for that is because they have Rob Gronkowski. But when they do turn to him, he can be effective. Like as of right here, it's one-on-one coverage right there on the top half of the screen, and that's going to be his route. He's going to fake as though he's running a slant route and then cut up to the outside. That's what he's doing here. And again, I've shown these on almost all of these plays, but it's because it's so impressive. Look at what he's doing right now. I mean, tell me that if I didn't tell you he was cutting to the outside, you would still think that he was going to cut to the outside after this. No way at all. You would 100% believe that he's cutting to the inside, and then when he does cut to the outside, he's guaranteed to get some space. Brady hits him, and it's an easy touchdown. That wasn't even bad coverage by that Miami Dolphin. He did a pretty good job of realizing what was going on, but it's just so hard to realize exactly what's going on so quickly. Edelman's a tremendous player. The guy has a Super Bowl MVP right now. He's clearly a very valuable tool in that Patriots offense. I know people are worried about the New England weapons or lack thereof, but the fact of the matter is they still have Edelman. I know he's 33 now, but he still is very talented. He just came off a Super Bowl MVP performance. And with the addition of Harry and their dominant offensive line with also a great backfield, I think they'll be absolutely fine. And the fact of the matter is, I don't care who they throw out there. As long as they have Brady and Belichick, I'm still giving them as good of a shot as any team in the league.